Everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. Okay, we're still getting set up, but we should be started soon. Thank you so much for coming to the event. How do I juggle it all? We'll get started in a couple minutes. Okay. Hello, everyone. Where is everyone coming from today? Please sound off in the chat. Orlando. Nice. Kansas City. I'm coming from Bay Area. Hmm. Atlanta, Los Angeles, Pennsylvania. Okay. Houston. Couple Los Angeles people. Right. Thank you so much for coming today. San Diego, Oliver. Still great weather. Okay. It's a little foggy up here in the Bay, so I'm glad somewhere in California has good weather still. Yes. Shout out Susan. Thank you, Shaista. All right. Thank you for coming in. We should get started around 4:05.
I wonder why my screen is the way it is. I hope it doesn't cut off my slides.
Hmm. Melissa, do you want to try sharing your screen really quickly to try? Or
Yeah.
all right, I'll let you share screen. So we're just gonna do a little test run of the slides. Thank you guys. All right, your slides are looking great on my end.
Um, see, it's stuck.
All right, I can go through the slides on my end, Melissa.
Oh, hang on, hang on. Um,
We're getting a bit of a spoiler alert.
sorry. Okay, it's fine. So, you can, let me see, I'll stop sharing. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys for signing off in the chat that you can see the slides. All right, and we will get started shortly. 1 minute. Thank you guys. You can see the slides. Okay. Yes, definitely. I also need management. It's definitely tough in grad school trying to balance everything.
Yeah, I think everybody needs it in some form or another.
Hmm. All right, we can get started. So thank you all for coming for today's event, an entrepreneur virtual programming event. How do I juggle it all with Melissa Drake as our speaker today? So just some norms before we start the event. If you're able to turn on your camera, that would be wonderful. It just helps us to engage and to be able to see people, might be easier to connect. Please mute your mic unless you're speaking. During the presentation, we're going to have the Q&A option as well as the chat going. But I'm going to shout out the Q&A option on Zoom because you're able to upvote any comments. So we'll be able to answer your questions with the people in the chat and also be able to keep track of them easier. And so we love when people engage in discussion. It just makes it such a more engaging event. Feel free to share ideas, share your LinkedIn, type in when something feels like it resonates with you. And once again, like I mentioned, please use the Q&A option. And then at the end, we're going to have a closing survey. So there's going to be a QR code, and then when the meeting ends, it's going to pop up. So that feedback really helps us determine future content as well as being able to plan more events based off of your feedback. And just welcome to entrepreneurship. So this is part of the SHIP programming where we have three aspects of entrepreneurship. The first being the community building aspect, which is our LinkedIn group. And this is for SHIP members to be able to connect and network. And I believe we'll be able to share that in the chat a little bit later on if you're already not aware of that. And feel free to also share your LinkedIns to be able to connect with each other. And then we're going to have our new community resources portal that's going to be launching June 2026. So please keep an eye out for that. And then this is part of our virtual programming event series. So we have monthly virtual event series in order to share events related to best practices for networking, for creating your business and skill development. And then finally is our national convention, where we host a community gathering event at our national SHIP convention. And so we're planning programming for Indy 2026. So we hope to see you there. All right, and something about me, your moderator. My name's Lani Halstead-Relas, and I'm a first-year PhD student at Oregon State, where I'm studying human-robot interaction. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I grew up around a lot of startup culture, and also the separation between tech startup and more homegrown businesses. So trying to see those two growing up, it made me interested in entrepreneurship, and I'm interested also in healthcare and robotics within STEM. So thank you so much for being here today. And now for our speaker, let me introduce the wonderful Melissa Villegas Drake. So she is an engineer turned educator with 15 years of experience in STEM, space operations, and tech leadership. A former national SHIP president and star teacher of the year, she champions girls and women in tech through Tech Women Arizona, Google Women Tech Makers, and First Robotics programs. Woo! So she currently serves on the SHIP National Board of Directors and the Coding for Color Board, and she is currently launching a new nonprofit, Tech Women Arizona. All right, so if Melissa, you want to take it away with your screen share, I'll let you share screen. And just a reminder, please add your questions in the Q&A so we can keep track. Thank you so much. Yes, Bay Area. All right.
So welcome, everyone. So some people are still joining, so I'll wait a sec. One person is out there. Okay. So, hustle with a purpose, growing a business without burning out. So I've been giving time management sessions for like ever because I started doing it for my students, and it's evolved into presenting it to different groups. So it's kind of cool because it keeps growing and growing or changing. So thank you for coming. And it's getting stuck again, but okay, there we go. So, a bit about me for those of you that don't know me. I'm originally from Texas, majored in electrical engineering, got my degree at NMSU. Um, I worked for NASA, Motorola, and on semiconductor. Then I got laid off. So I went back to school to get my teaching certificate. So I taught for like 14 years. Now, for the most part, I've been involved in SHIP since I was a freshman in college. I'm now retired, and I work with three nonprofits. So I put this up first as a funny. I'm very busy doing things I don't need to do in order to avoid doing anything I'm actually supposed to be doing. So I know a lot of people tend to do that. So what I suggest that you do is start with a mission and vision for yourself or your business. What do you want to accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years? And then also develop core values. What drives you? What do you stand for? An example of a core value, because we've seen different missions and visions, and that's pretty, up to you. But core values, sometimes people don't write those. But here's one, and this is a personal one. Prioritize self-care, make decisions that support my physical and mental well-being, leading to long-term positive changes in my lifestyle and mindset. So you could have maybe, 5 core values or just a couple, whatever suits you. And I added this too. Look at your personal bucket list. In your life, what activities would you like to do and what places you would you like to visit? Because before you know it, time goes by and then you didn't do what you wanted to do, so you got to plan for it. So here are some tools to figure yourself out because sometimes people don't know what they want to do, right? And in fact, we have a lot of that these days because there's so many options. So these are oldies but goodies, Myers-Briggs, Strength Finder, 16 personalities, and just ChatGPT, I'm sure can help. Once you know what you like to do and how you like to work with individuals, you can research careers that apply to that or businesses that apply to that. Knowing yourself leads to business and personal success. I just said this stuff. Okay. The other thing you should do is rate your relationships on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most important. And based on that, and by the way, we failed to mention that I do have a worksheet that goes with this, but we're going to provide it at the end. So if I go a little fast, don't worry. And this is being recorded as well. So bear with me because I can't see my slides because I'm seeing everybody. So I need to minimize that bar. Um, so when you're planning your time, it's important that you schedule time for your relationships. S Some people get really dominated by their work and then relationships suffer. It's very, very common. I was one of those individuals that had to learn the hard way, and now I schedule time. I do not work on Thursdays because I'm retired. I can set the day for myself. But my husband and I do not work on anything house related or nonprofit related on Thursdays, and that's just the rule we have. And I try to abide by it, although it is hard. So you need to assess your time next. Write down what you do in a day, including sleep time for a week. Unless, you do the same thing every day, then you only need to do it for a day. You will see how much time you spend on non-essential items. Assess your weekend time as well. So here's an example for me for a Monday. So as you can see, oh gosh, I spend too much time watching television, and I'm still working on that, by the way. You'll see what your biggest time waster is, and you work on that. What can you do differently to save time? Can the task be delegated, like yard work, for example, or housework? Can it be eliminated? Is it really important for you to be doing that particular task? Usually we do things that are not that important. So really assess that task and eliminate it if you can. Can the task be contracted? Actually, that's what I meant to say first or later. If you have an organization, you can delegate some of your tasks, right? But if you're solely your own business owner, that's a little bit more difficult. So less is more. Multitasking and context switching does not yield better results. It's less efficient and leads to fatigue and stress. Eliminate notifications, especially when you're working on a project or if you have a meeting. Be mindful of distractions and batch similar tasks together and prioritize your tasks. Planning calendars and to-do lists. There's so many things out there, and honestly, I started with Franklin Planning, and that's ancient. I don't know if it even exists anymore, but the methodology I still use, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But I do use Evernote just for notes, especially if I'm not at my desk. It's really convenient because it's on my phone. And I also use Google Notes, Google Calendar. One of my colleagues, she uses a combo of Google Calendar and Reclaim AI so she can get notified um, for her tasks and meetings, I believe. And you can always ask AI as well. I have not done that, by the way, not yet. And um, so how do you keep track? So pick any day of the week that you want. I use Monday as my planning day. Take about 10 minutes or less to write a prioritized list of what you want to accomplish that week. List about 10 to 20 items. Don't list 50, okay? That's too much. Add items that you did not accomplish to next week's list, and if they stay on the list for more than a month, then just remove them. So here's an example for me. I have the check. You know what? Something is not right. Let me go back. I feel, yes, it's skipping, or I'm skipping. My apologies. Okay. So keeping track. Check mark the tasks that are completed. If it's in process, place a dot by it. If I decided not to work on the task, place an X by it or cross it out. You can use whatever code you like. This is actually coming from Franklin, so I just kept using it forever. Again, items that you did not accomplish to next week's list, and if they stay on the list for more than a month, then just remove them. So here's my example. So again, make a list for the week, mark it up daily, and then status it the following week. And I highlight these things because they are important. Schedule important items in your calendar and have a to-do list. I used to not schedule personal stuff on my calendar, but then I had to because, again, of my relationship building. So if you have an established business already, when you start your list, identify one or two activities that move your business forward the most, like revenue generation, partnerships, product development, or a strategy. Do these when your energy is the highest. If you're just starting a business or you're thinking about starting a business, set time aside for idea generation. At different stages of the business, your task focus will change, of course. Plan when you're going to complete your business plan or strategic plan. What's your goal in the next the first year, 5 years, 10 years? Status your progress every quarter, especially when you're beginning, because things change very quickly. And what you thought you could do, you can't. So, definitely status every quarter, and it's okay if it changes. Review your goals each year. Keep some scorecards with some of the projects or events or activities that you have to do and status them monthly. And try to find resources in your local area to help you with some of these items. So in your schedule, make sure that you schedule personal time for yourself. Make time for family and friends. Get rid of the time wasters, reduce tasks, group similar tasks together, and time block think time. I don't necessarily do that last one, but a colleague of mine does, and I think that's great. It's a great idea. Yearly goals. I also have a list of this. I actually have a vision board, and it combines all the travel I want to do. It combines like major house things we need to do, all the major things we need to do within a year. Um, so that's one suggestion you can do because it's always visible, but you can use anything that you're comfortable with, of course. So this slide is not where I thought it was, and I thought I had lost it, but this is something I got from a different workshop. So if you want to use AI prompts, you can do that. You can analyze time for a week and identify inefficiencies. You can time track. It could set a daily schedule for you. It could remind you of things that are scheduled, or it could probably even schedule meetings, email, and organize your calendar. I have not tried this, as I said before. That'll be my next step to see how good this is, but I'm not ready to do that yet. So why is it important to write this down? Students in a graduate class were asked to write their goals down for their future, and they were monitored for several years. I think it was a Harvard study. I don't remember. I just took that out because it's not that significant. Anyway, the 3% that wrote their goal down with a plan had 10 times higher net worth than the 97% that did not. The 13% that had written their goals without a plan had earned twice as much as those that did not have any written goals. Why does this work? By writing them down, you'll have more motivation to get them accomplished because you're seeing them on paper. Clear goals increase persistence, self-efficacy, making individuals less susceptible to anxiety, disappointment, and frustration. Also, when one accomplishes goals, their success elicits positive emotion, such as interest, joy, and pride. Doesn't it make you feel good when you get stuff done? And it also reduces stress. So, how can I get started with a project? So, time chunking, doing tasks a little at a time, increasing the time to work on them refers to chunking or time chunking. Break down large tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces and gradually dedicate more time to working on them as you progress, allowing for a gradual increase in focus and commitment on the task, especially if it's something you really don't want to be doing. So here's an example of one way to do it. There's different ways that you can do this. So as you can see here, the time chunking in the morning is pretty big because it's the deep work. And then meetings are second, admin third, and then any project execution is last. So here are different apps that you can use for time chunking. You can even just use a timer to keep track of your work time. And these are on the worksheet. So most important, the most important thing is to take care of yourself. Block time for yourself. And, these are no-brainers, right? The nutrition, the exercise, the sleep. But I'll tell you that when I don't do these things, I feel really crappy and I am not a great worker as a result. The sleep one was the worst one for me to really adjust to. And I was a high school teacher and I would always go to bed late and I had to be at work by 6:30 in the morning, which was dumb for me to do. And near the end of my teaching career, I did change my sleeping schedule and went to bed at 9:30 every night. And I felt so much better the next day. I was like, oh my God, I should have done this years and years ago. this one is also good. Getting outside. Take a break from whatever it is you're doing. If you're, work from home, especially go outside, especially if you really have great weather, right? It decreases anxiety, depression, and stress. And also outdoor activity improves mental and physical well-being. When you do more outside stuff, you have a decrease in high blood pressure. And for kids, it's better cognitive development for them. And you also have a decrease in cardiovascular, musculoskeletal, mental health, respiratory, neurological, and digestive diseases. I was amazed when I was researching this. I'm like, oh, wow. So, some more tips. And this helps me record your thoughts in journaling and journal. Doesn't mean that anyone's gonna ever read that. You may never read it again, but it's good because it helps you clear your mind. Mental fitness, that helps with mental fitness. If you need more help, go and get it. I do see a therapist, and actually, of late, I guess because I think more because I'm retired, I didn't feel like something was quite right. So I got myself tested and I discovered that I am, what did she call it? I think marginal OCD or something like that. So that explains a lot. So if you can, get diagnosed and work on that, that will help you tremendously. Some people find spiritual things to help them also with stress. Another thing is say no. A lot of people have a hard time saying no because they don't want to hurt other people's feelings. You really need to not do things that you shouldn't be doing. Don't put things off to the last minute and set a timer for tasks, especially if you don't want to do them. So more tips, be flexible, rearrange your schedule to what's important to you, be positive, and ask for help. My schedule changes all the time. I have something blocked for a certain day and time, and if I don't feel like doing it, I'm just gonna move it. I know maybe some of you don't have that luxury, but sometimes that helps. It may give you less stress if you just move it out a day or an hour. So being organized is part of everyday life. You feel better about yourself when you have things in order. It's about having control of your life and being successful. You will have less stress and be happier. I know it's a challenge. I think because I started so early with SHIP in the time management aspect, it's kind of ingrained in my mind. I don't do it perfectly, but I do use a process and tools to help me as a retired person because I'm still kind of busy with my nonprofits. So, um, lots of people have difficulty with this. So I think it's very important. That's why I do this workshop for different people. Are there any questions?
Well, I'm looking at the comments, and we've gotten some wonderful comments about time blocking and also trying to balance your natural rhythm and the push to make progress. Melissa, I'm going to share the worksheet. Um,
Oh, yes,
and
yes, I forgot about that. My bad.
yeah, that's all right. So just one second, I'll pull that up and feel free to talk through it. Just one second.
And I apologize, people. I'm not my 100% best. I've been pretty tired of late traveling and stuff, and I'm older, so I'm used to this kind of schedule. So my apologies. So there is I guess, do you want to copy and paste the URL to the chat?
Yes, that's going to be pasted in the chat. Mm.
Okay. So I used a Google Doc for this. Um, so you can use it as you wish. It has room for the mission and vision, what you want to accomplish in the future, the activities you would like to do. And then I have links for some of the tools. And then there's a table set for relationships. And then there's a time assessment table that you can use. If you need to add more of the hours, you can. And then you ask yourself these questions. And then here's the example of keeping track. And this comes from Franklin Planning. So you can do research on that if you like. Okay, you can keep going. And yearly goals. And then the notes for established businesses. And then notes for people that are thinking about starting a business.
Hello, Melissa. I know it says Irene Rivera, but I'm here with her. My name is Isaac Perez. I am a part of SHIP New Jersey as well. I had a question. We scrolled past it, but I guess when we were looking at relationships, let's say you do your analysis and
Mm-hmm.
you're rating, let's say, a lot of them, maybe not a lot, but a couple of them are on the lower end. Let's say they're like between 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
But you're aiming to start a business and you're trying to balance the business, and now you're starting to recognize, hey, I have a couple of relationships I should be working on as well, alongside like your full-time job, right? I guess
Mm-hmm.
how would you best recommend maintaining like a consistent time block for each of these, when it's like, these relationships are kind of like the building blocks to enable you to have a successful day to day. I guess how would you recommend building it all out?
So when my husband and I first started talking about this, we start small. So we would do like maybe an hour once a week, and that's not a lot, with just him and I doing stuff together. And then it would gradually increase, and it took time, okay? It took time. It took us to retire to get to that 1 day a week of not working. So that's what I would suggest. Start small. And then for the lower level or not as important items, maybe just schedule those once a month, but at least you're still doing them.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Did we get through the whole list?
We got to notes for new businesses.
Okay. And then these are recommendations for planners and to-dos and the time chunking apps and the example. Any other questions?
Yes. Hey, Melissa, this is Shasta Shaba. Um, I firstly, I would like to say very great presentation. I did not thought this much deep. I did not, especially me being a doctoral student. I'll be very hard on myself. I'm a very soft person for the world around, but for me myself, I'm a very hard girl, and I'm working on that. So, yeah. But apart from that, I would like to ask you, how do you measure success beyond revenue or growth metrics to ensure personal and team well-being?
That's a good question. Um, Individually or personally, I should say, um, when you start feeling better and feeling less stressed, that's a great indicator, right? Because you're more organized, you're more put together, right? So you feel better about it. So that's one indicator. With your team, I would say that would improve as well because you're more systematic about how you're planning things with your team. And I think they would appreciate it greatly. Or in another side of the coin, they can be annoyed by your organizational skills because I tend to annoy people because I'm organized, but that's okay. That's okay as long as you work together to improve your work relationship, then it's a plus. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be happy. As I said, with my husband, I had to start small because I was so into my work. Being a teacher is so time consuming. Um, for those of you that have taught, you work beyond the 40 hours. So it's really hard to focus on other things. Um, so when I retired, I really made myself dedicate more time to my relationships. I see a comment. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. I
Okay.
appreciate you.
I see a comment. Balancing time after work to invest in my own business, it feels like managing two jobs, which is daunting and exhausting. Yes, it is. It is. And I have a friend who I started Girls in Tech with 7 years ago, and she started her new business at the same time. And I didn't even know. She didn't tell me. She started a chatbot business, and she actually gave a presentation at our launch event, which for Tech Women Arizona last month. And you really have to be wanting to do this business to make the sacrifice of the time. And it is exhausting. It is. So if it's too overwhelming for you, um, it might be an indicator that that's maybe not for you. And actually, to be honest, for me, I've been wanting to start a business like forever, but I see, what my colleagues go through that have their own business, and it's just too much work for me. I mean, I'm starting this nonprofit and it's already overwhelming me. So I don't think I could do something for profit. But that's just me. And I need to do a new Strength Finders assessment because over the years, I think you change because you grow, right? So you change how you work with people and you change what you want to do. So I think I want to do that so I can be more effective in what I'm doing. Other questions?
Well, we're still waiting on questions. I had some questions prepared for you, Melissa, that I would love if to get your thoughts on.
Sure.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that sign up for these events, they're still in the ideation phase or still getting started in running their business. And so I wanted to ask, in your experience, both with your own company and in coaching others on their journey, what do people tend to under or over prioritize in their time management when they're preparing to launch, compared to those people who are more established in running their business?
Mm,
And I'm gonna drop the question in the chat just in case. Right.
I so when we just launched our new nonprofit, because Girls in Tech went out of business, so we were told that in 3 weeks we had to close our chapter. So that was kind of really stressful. I think that's when more stress started building upon me because I'm like, what am I going to do? I have this money, I have this team, I have this membership. We can't close our doors in 3 weeks. So fortunately, um, we found a partner because some of us were Google ambassadors, and we were part of an organization called Women Tech Makers, which, by the way, Google does not support anymore, unfortunately. But Technovations has decided to take us on. Um, but we decided as a chapter to just become our own entity. And unfortunately, because I'm the senior person and I have all the background knowledge of the past organization, a lot of it fell on me. And my mistake was that I didn't use enough of my team to work on this launch because it stressed me out significantly. Um, so that's what I would recommend is use your team, especially to do tasks that are easy, simple things. So don't do the work yourself unless, of course, you have to, it's your own business. Um, but I'll give you another example with a friend of mine who has his own business and does his own billing. And I'm telling him, you gotta get someone else to do the billing. This is way too much work for you. So anything that you can contract off, do it. Um, especially if you're starting at the beginning, right? Uh, so those are a couple of recommendations. Did that help?
Yeah, that was wonderful. I think task delegation is definitely something a lot of people, including myself, struggle with. Especially when you're first starting out and you're not really having a lot of resources to hire on people or find. I'm sure
Yes.
there's a lot that you can find in resource groups or support groups.
And that's one thing I was going to say, in Phoenix, we have a lot of help for startups. There's so many organizations and there's so many groups that want to invest. It's great. It's a great community here for entrepreneurs. So in your city, see if there is something like that as well to get help. It's a great community because we're all going through the same thing, right? And that's why this is really great as well, the entrepreneurship, because it's the same kind of thing, but we're doing it virtual, right? But it's amazing how many people have reacted and reached out to this because I really wasn't sure that there was a need, right? And Francesca had wanted to springboard this, and I'm glad we did it because I think a lot of people need this help.
Yeah, definitely. Um, and I'm sure people, if you in the chat, feel free to sound off if there's any resources that you found outside of SHIP that you would like to share. It's always great to learn about new resources. And then another question, Melissa, of the time management tools that you mentioned, which ones do you think had the biggest impact on your life and your business, and how?
So definitely the Franklin planning, because that's what I first started with SHIP and when I started working at NASA, because they did the same thing. And I think because I started early and I started making the habit of always having a calendar, even though I don't use the Franklin anymore, I still use some kind of calendar, some type of to-do list, right? But I still use the methodology that the Franklin uses to status my things to do. I think the earlier you get started on the time management, the easier it gets, and you just get used to it because it's a habit. And it comes as it comes to be easier. So, for instance, I don't have a paper calendar anymore. I used to have one when I was a teacher. I had to give up the Franklin because it wasn't suitable for a teacher. And what I was planning to do, but I never did it, is come up with a planner for teachers. Because we have so much on our plate, and there's no planner out there that, at least for me, that would help me. So I just used a basic calendar, the one that I showed on the slide. Now I use the Google Calendar, and it also has a task list attached to it. So I solely use that primarily. And then I do have the Google Keep or the Evernote to just do notes on the side. Um, but there's so many resources now, and I really haven't tapped into everything. And everybody's different. You know, what may work for me may not work for you. So go research and see what is out there that you may like, or ask AI.
Mm, definitely. I'm a big fan personally of using Google Calendar because I
Mhm.
love putting like different colors for different tasks. It's very satisfying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
like that too.
Yeah, and then we have some comments about different resources. Thank you so much, Byron. And then I guess last question is some like when you're receiving this type of advice or like learning about new time management techniques, it can sometimes be really easy to just have it pass over your head and like not be directly implemented. Um, so I wanted to ask, when did you realize that you needed to implement or be more mindful about how you were spending your time? And what triggered that shift?
Mm. When I started college, because engineering, especially electrical engineering, is a very challenging degree, right? And when you go to college for that, I think it awakens you that what you did in the past is not going to work if you're going to make it through. And I had difficulty, I did. So it wasn't until much later that I learned about uh, the time management because I went to NILA as a president, and that's how I got introduced into time management. So it wasn't until I was maybe a junior that I really got into it. Um, so after that, when I became a shipboard member and when I started my job with NASA, it was great that they used those tools. So it was easier for me to manage my time when I had those transitions.
Right. I see. I think I also had a pretty big shift in starting grad school of like how I did it in undergrad does not necessarily mean success in a more different and intense
Yes,
environment. And
yes.
I'm sure people changing environments and transitioning have also found that. But yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and practical advice. And also thank you to our audience for all their wonderful comments and engagement with each other within the chat. I do want to shout out our upcoming event on April 2nd. So this is the Am I Covered Legal Foundations to Protect My Business event, where we're going to have speakers talk about legal aspects of business for both aspiring and current entrepreneurs. And we're going to have these links dropped in the chat. Thank you guys. And that's going to be happening April 2nd, 4 p.m. PST. And then we also have our monthly Cafecito virtual networking event on April 8th at 4 p.m. And so links will for both will be in our chat. And thank you so much for coming. Please make sure to answer the survey shown on the slide. And that will also pop up after the meeting ends, and the feedback will be very helpful for us. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Melissa, once again for sharing your advice and your worksheet.
It was my pleasure. And if any of you that are on have any suggestions for improvement of my presentation, I welcome them since I'm still working on it. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. I'm going to stop the recording for just a second.